Magandang pagi. Assalamualaikum. I know I'm the last person getting in the way of dinner, cocktails, and networking with everyone. Am I on? The reason why I'm here is because I want to be able to tell you how just being in one of the largest fintech ecosystems in the entire world, you can actually create opportunities for yourself, not just in Indonesia, not just in ASEAN, but in a cross-border manner. So in other words, I don't know how many of you guys are old enough to remember the movie Jerry Maguire. Can you raise your hand? Well, a good percentage of you. And what was the line that made that movie popular? Obviously a romantic over there. No, it was show me the money. Right? Show me the money. Keep a good name, whatever. And today, I'm going to talk to you guys about the largest fintech in the world. And it's not financial. It is not one country, but it is one region, and that is ASEAN. And as the closing talk for today, let's talk about how we can make money together in this region. Are we going to do the video first? Or let me do the talk first, right? So, my name is Amor Maclang. I'm not only a friend of TradePass, but also I'm the convener of Digital Pilipinas and the One ASEAN FinTech movement. Yes, after close to 5 years, all the various FinTech heads have decided we are going to be working very closely together. So it is no accident that for the first time in 45 years, next slide please, all the FinTech programs in the world are aligning. Beginning with the Philippines and closing off, guess where the party is going to close off? In Bali, for the Indonesian FinTech Summit. So how many of you guys are going to be in Bali with me next month? Once again, the romantic over there is the only fun person in the room. Seriously, come on guys. Am I left with bankers here? Did you leave you with guys, traditional bankers? Now, through the One ASEAN FinTech movement, which I would love to invite all of you to join. Guys, can you click? Is that okay? I don't have the machine. Can someone? I do have a presentation. Our diversity, sorry, we have a clicker, forgive me. I just experienced for the first time what Jakarta rains and Jakarta traffic was. And I tell you, you make the Philippines seem like a Walter White Park. I swear. There you go. So earlier, if you guys were in the talk, I mentioned that while the rest of the world are complaining about macroeconomic factors, here in ASEAN, we never experience any type of winter. I know there are great headwinds, and I know just today a couple of fintechs have talked about contracting and downscaling, but a lot of that is really prophylactic and preemptive, as opposed to what's happening with the rest of the world. Look at the type of funding that our industry is receiving. To give you an overview of how big ASEAN is, I just wanted to show you, in a nutshell, the type of funding the interest that we're receiving. And this isn't just for payments and lending, but even for digital assets. And I'm very proud to say that actually in the Philippines, we have a very unique play when it comes to blockchain and digital assets. And later, if you guys are interested, perhaps over drinks, or soda water, which is my preference, we can tell you about how digital assets are changing the narrative of money and investments. Now, I wanted to jump straight in a little bit. There you go. Because I know that we're a little bit pressed for time. So, the future of wallets. Many people are asking me, Amor, beyond payments and beyond remittances, for which the Philippines and ASEAN is highly known for, what do you think would be the future of wallets? The future of wallets is in one word, which is to become a super app. So all the wallets that you see here, which are currently lording it over in Asia and ASEAN, and many of them have been invested into by Ant Financial, are actually moving towards becoming a super app and becoming their own integrated Alibaba for shopping, and in some cases, for investing. Which brings me to the next slide, digital assets. So I'm here to kind of give you an overview of what's happening across the region. Wealth management. One of the things I'm particularly interested in Indonesia, and after my trip last month, and I had a meeting with OJK and AFTEC, I said to my constituencies in the Philippines, Indonesia, we used to be sister countries. We used to be twin sisters. Twin, meaning identical twin sisters. And I said, if we're not careful enough, we're going to be the uglier of the twin sisters. And I say this in jest before I get cancel cultured out there for a few things, and it is in the play of wealth management. I have seen that another type of financial exclusion that's actually happening in the Philippines is that people who can afford to buy insurance or wealth management products are actually not able to access them because of lack of. So if any of you guys are interested to do any type of wealth management across ASEAN, I think there is a great potential to do so. Now, allow me to give you a quick overview. So this is kind of like a FinTech AMA across a few minutes, and then happy to take the conversation later over networking. In Indonesia, FinTech companies are turning into integrated financial services and thus becoming an engine of growth, especially in the field of SME digitalization. So this is something that actually the rest of the region can learn from Indonesia. What's happening in my home port, the Philippines? The number of FinTech active clients has grown from 1.7 in 2016. I haven't been in the industry very long, just in 2017, which apparently in blockchain years is like dog years. And now, from a dismal underbanked number that was presented earlier by the speaker, we now have close to 50% coverage for bags where we used to be really less than 1 out of 3. The penetration of FinTech services reached close to 50% in 2021 and quite higher now in 2022. So, in the case of Vietnam, 93% of all venture investments in the country is directed at e-wallets and the e-money segment. God bless you. And the total number of FinTech companies has grown to 97 since 2016, and that represents an almost 90% increase. So, the level of narrative for FinTech is still at the payments level. However, on the blockchain and decentralized stage, Vietnam is lording it over and is one of the largest markets, alongside the Philippines and ASEAN, and only second or third, depending on which country you're speaking in, after Nigeria. Now, Malaysia. Sorry, forgive me. My friends in Cambodia are going to kill me. According to the ASEAN Plus 3 Macroeconomic Research Office, the FinTech system in Cambodia is still very much at trying to penetrate the traditional banking level. So actually, if any of you would like to go visit Cambodia or leading a delegation, sometime first, second week of November, to get to experience the current chair of ASEAN right now, which is Cambodia. Malaysia in the first 3 quarters of 2021, fintech companies in Malaysia also, just like in the Philippines, raised a lot of money. So once again, there is no winter in Malaysia. And then, last but not the least, second to the last, Singapore has weathered the current economic conditions as well. And in terms of what they're prioritizing, it will be things like Web3, blockchain, decentralization, and something unique that I see, which is not as pervasive in the rest of the region, is green financing. Not next month, this month, we're actually running a hackathon in Digital Pilipinas on green financing and Web3 in an effort to try to bring the narrative of the Philippines to a more global level. In behalf of Thailand, they have yet to flesh out their digital banking roadmap, but its central bank digital currency pilot called Project Infinite is in its advanced stages right now. And of course, everyone has talked about the integration of the payments, bilateral payments between, say, Thailand and Singapore. Our dream, of course, is to try to get everyone in ASEAN to work together. And earlier today and mid this year, how many of you guys here are from Indonesia? Can you raise your hand? Wonderful. So I don't know if you are familiar with the word Lumbo. Great, right? Interestingly enough, I first heard of the word Lumbo, which has nothing to do with fintech, when I flew to Kassel in Germany last June of 2021, where you may or may not know that aside from your fintech leadership, you actually are lording it over in the art scene. So maybe those of you who are plugged into this have heard of Ruang Rupa. Have you guys heard of what Ruang Rupa has done? So that has brought a lot of pride, I'm sure. And basically, to put it simplistically to the non-Indonesians and non-Indonesians in this room, the Lumbo is a collectively governed architecture for the storage of food system that considers the community's long-term well-being through communal resource sharing, mutual care, and creating resources, time, energy, funds, ideas among each other. On that note, aside from fintech, I think the rest of ASEAN and the rest of the world needs to learn about the concept of the Indonesian Lumbu. Because we haven't just seen that in the art space, but also we've seen it in the way the decentralized technologies from all over the world, how the collective has worked from the ground up. In the Philippines, and this is going to be perhaps your first Filipino word of the day, the term is called bayanihan, which is basically working all closely together for the good of the community. Ironically, both the Lumbu and the bayanihan as a digital concept and what's happening right now in our decentralized world originates from the kampo, or the grassroots, or the barangay in the Philippines, all of whom are totally underserved right now by the financial sector. In building an ecosystem in ASEAN, we can choose to talk to each other without sacrificing our individuality through interoperability. And me speaking to you as Indonesians is like teaching dolphins how to swim. You simply don't do that. But what I'm exactly asking every one of you to do is to all swim together in this region called ASEAN. Because I think we can put our region in the map. I mean, what's common to all of us except Thailand? All of our regions have been colonized by quote-unquote Western powers, right? But for the first time ever, and the gentleman, Mr. Lee backed himself, he talked about digital banks, right? I one time had a discussion very recently with one of our former colonizers. I won't say which country, but suffice to say it's in the Northern Hemisphere. And they were asking us, what can we do for you in the digital Pilipinas? And I said, sir, with all due respect, your country has 10 digital banking licenses. Europe has 10. Asia has 40. And we, your former colony, has 6. So, actually, sir, what can we Asians do for you in an era of fintechs? And it kind of felt good being brown and being Asian and being able to say that nicely. Now, before I close, there is really an opportunity for us in ASEAN to create what I term as a soft landing haven for the rest of the world and really put a pin on our region as a front runner in the technology space. Earlier, a representative from Optech said that they were recently in London, where the narrative of banks are still at its traditional stages. Let me put it very politely. I recently had the opportunity to travel to Skolkovo. Would anyone here be familiar with Skolkovo? What if I told you that within the heart of Moscow is actually its own version of Silicon Valley and its own digital ecosystem? So regardless of what's currently happening right now, all over the world politically, the new Silk Road that will tie us all together, regardless of geopolitical happenstances, is really technology. And all the technologies in areas that have been left out, and I'm not just talking about Russia, I'm talking about Central Asia, Eastern Europe, Middle East, Africa. And this is why I really admire what our friends here in TradePass are doing. Many of them are looking for a soft landing haven, a soft haven amidst all of the judgments and the bannings and the issues happening. And guess what? Asia can be that potential safe haven. Now, right now, it's not a matter of asking if you should join an ecosystem or build one. Indonesia has built an integral and an impressive ecosystem, which is why it was my pride and joy to actually open the panel between the dynamics of AFTEC and OJK. Because I don't know if you're aware, but you probably represent some of the best case studies in the world for governmental and private sector collaboration. And many of you probably don't know that because you guys are already very, very neck deep into whatever is happening in Indonesia. But there's so much the rest of the world can learn from you. Now, with our recently concluded bilateral exchange between the Philippines and Indonesia, via a series of conferences and webinars, working together on frameworks, I would like to engage all of you to not just be part of this one ASEAN FinTech movement, but more importantly, how do we collectively create an ASEAN that will welcome, impress, co-create, and collaborate with the rest of the world. And on that note, I'd like to maybe play very quickly the video. So because I could not bring all of the ASEAN FinTech leaders in our room today, what we decided to do was produce a video that brought together how close we work in ASEAN. And as we committed to each other, where one leader goes, we all go. And on this note, presenting the one ASEAN FinTech leader. Thank you.
Southeast Asia is one of the richest and most diverse cultural regions of the world. Each nation has its own language, history, and economy, yet there are distinct traditions and values that we all share. This is prominent in our region's flag. The stalks of rice or paddy represent each ASEAN country, our shared heritage, and our shared commitment in growing together. A promise that is best represented in the Indonesian word lumbung, also known as rice barn in English. Over time, the definition of the word lumbung has come to evoke an all-encompassing message of friendship, unity, and collaboration. And as we take our first step into a new digital economy, this is a message we need to foster together. The technology of transaction, commerce, investment, lending, insurance, and banking has brought people across the ASEAN region closer than ever before in a manner that preserves our individuality while endowing us with the human right to do business with each other. The ASEAN GDP is currently valued at over $3 trillion with a population of over 600 million people. Southeast Asia is on to become the fourth largest economy in the world. This economic growth is driven by the emergence of fintech, which has expedited the digital transformation of the region. With $3.5 billion in funding raised in the first quarter of 2022, ASEAN is becoming a global leader in financial technology. ASEAN is on track to becoming a super economy as a collaborative region united by fintech. And in order to achieve this, we must come together and become interoperable. Digital Pilipinas is creating an interoperable, region-wide ecosystem where businesses, marketplaces, and transactional systems collaborate to create a financial environment that empowers everyone to do business together. This dream is on the cusp of becoming a shared reality for everyone in ASEAN. And in order to achieve this, we must develop an ecosystem that brings together stakeholders across numerous industries and communities to drive the mass uptake for emerging technologies in the region. The success of our region in this new interoperable digital economy can only be achieved through a collective effort from each and every ASEAN country. A united front towards a complete digital transformation of our region, because where one ASEAN country goes, we all go. Let's build a dream of unlimited cross-border trade and collaboration. Let's build a united tech-led ASEAN together.